try and do a live without my dog barking at a carry bag. Not really a topic today. I've just thought I'd come in and just discuss random bits again, as per. I can look into nutritional aspects and application in terms of where you would aim to apply it, but then also why you should. So I mean that in terms of if you have got a certain goal to approach, whether that be losing weight, gaining weight, like, have you put that in terms of a practical application of how it can fit into your lifestyle, and can you physically achieve it with what you're doing? So I mean that in respect of, I need to switch to my data for a second, give me 2 seconds. If you are in a position where you are in a very active job in terms of you barely got the time to even get to your food, is the practical application of you getting into a bulk or a gaining phase like viable? Like, are you doing that many steps a day where you're going to have to correspond with this by getting a shit ton of food in? It all come down to you and what you do from day to day, which I think a lot of people financially don't think of and time-wise don't think of as well. So it's like, you've got to set up all your food for the day. Are you planning of when you're eating your food? Like, you need to have so many calories by such a time, or else you're going to get to about 10 o'clock and then you realise you've got to eat 1,500 calories, which realistically is not viable for what you want to achieve. Like, you've got to go through all that stage of like trying to push food through, aid digestion, but then get a good enough amount of sleep to include recovery to its highest potential. So there's so many factors that come into it that I think a lot of people neglect where the benefit can actually come from. So it is very important to be just like, I'm going to sit back, just take a little step and be like, right, this is the amount of calories I need. I need this many calories by this time, and this time, and then be able to physically do it. And that's for obviously a gaining phase, but if you flipped it on its head and did in terms of weight loss, if you worked an early or you worked a late, like, are you eating your calories fit? So let's go for a late night shift. So if you did like a 2 till 10, are you eating all your calories in the morning, then getting through the most energy exertive part of your day later on, and then just having no food left to actually get you through that day? Like, it's not viable. So you could look into an intermittent fasting system where you basically don't eat for the morning, obviously look into lighter options if needed, and then have the main bulk of your food when it's physically needed and when digestion's going to be quite busy because you're moving so much. So in terms of like saying 1,500 calories, I think I've said about this in a live before, but if you broke that into 500, 500, 500, could you do 300, 500, 700? Obviously, depending on if you can physically get the food in, that is very granted. But can you push the food around to make sure that you are getting the food when you need it? And the same can be said for like a workout. Obviously, you're going to want more food around a workout. Obviously, dependent. I'd normally say about an hour before, just so it doesn't affect performance and digestion doesn't play a part into how you can physically perform. But can you put yourself in a position where you're not actually putting a downfall on the rest of your day and the rest of your session by just being hungry all the time because you haven't actually planned your food out properly? So like, this is where like a meal planner would be effective, because this will literally say what food when you need it. I use a system where basically I let the client pick what they want, but obviously it's going to fit into the IIFYM, so if it fits your macro system. So you can have whatever food you want, but it'll have to fit into your macronutrients and your calories, but then you're fine. But obviously it's about teaching the smarter principles in terms of food volume. So are you having certain foods which are more calorie dense and not going to fill you up? Or are you getting the right food, which is like, say, your salad, and increasing the actual food volume, which is also going to drive up micronutrients, so your vitamins and minerals. So micronutrients, for anyone that doesn't know, is going to be like your vitamins and minerals. So vitamins A, C, anything past that point, it's going to be looking into, say, minerals, which is going to be your copper, zinc, iron, potassium, that kind of aspect of it, which is also important to consider when you need to physically apply how much you're getting into your diet, because I think a lot of people have got such focus on getting protein and all this in that they're neglecting what vitamins and minerals can do for your health. So it is important to just be like, okay, am I getting enough in? Can I look at the dosages of, say, a vitamin and mineral? Because I use one from Olymp Sport, I think, the same as my ashwagandha tablets, and the dosage on that is pretty high for everything. So obviously it's going to be important to just be sitting back and saying, have you got a multivitamin? Yes. Is the dosage correct for what you require? No. Is it too weak? Do you need to go for something stronger? Potentially. Because obviously the requirements of someone that's 120 kilograms might be different to someone that's 70 kilograms. Because obviously the body's going to only take so much of certain things. But then with vitamins, if your body doesn't use them, it's going to excrete it. So it's a bit different in terms of, like, say, you're getting all these calories and it's going to store it as fat. It's basically just going to either go through feces or urine. So it is important to just factor in different ones where you need to understand what your body actually requires, which a lot of people will also neglect, which is why I think a coach is super important in terms of they will say what you need, when you need it, in terms of training, because they're not going to give you a be-all and end-all for training. Like, they're going to fluctuate it and change it in terms of your physical capacity of volume and how, like, you can actually work out. Like, if you can work out 6 days a week, that's great. If you can work out 3 days a week, that's great. A coach should be able to figure out where you need that training block implemented and figure out which one's best for you. Because if they're not, then they're just giving you a template of someone else's. And it's like, if someone wants to build their glutes, but I'm giving them upper days most of the time, that's not right. Like, you would focus it more on a well-rounded program, but implement more glute work into that system. And obviously you've got to factor in, like, recovery and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't just come in and be like, okay, we're going to do glutes this day, glutes that day, glutes this day. No. It's implementing all the factors around glute training, so not just directly hitting the glutes and making them stronger as a posterior chain as well. So you can't just look at one thing and be like, I need a bigger chest, so I'm just going to do a chest day twice a week. No, you need to physically systemize where it's important, and obviously that is a goal, but it's like training shoulders and having giant shoulders and the rest of your body being out of place. So it is really important to figure out, like, the be-all and end-all in terms of what you want, but then how that is going to fit into a program which is longer. Because I think anyone will say, oh, I want a bigger body part of this. Yeah, great. But then it's going to make the other body part smaller. And then you're just going to get caught in a dangerous loop of just saying, okay, I need to grow this. Oh, no, now I need to grow this. If your program's well-rounded enough and it's implementing weak body parts to bring up everything as a whole, you're sorted. Now, weight loss I think is a bit different, because obviously some people are going to say, like, what's the exercises to cut weight on my belly? There isn't any. It's physically just losing weight and then implementing it over a long period of time, and then it will come over time. Now for me, I wouldn't even try and implement weight loss on the belly, because it'll come over time regardless. I'd focus more on a goal external. So, can I get more muscle? Can I get stronger? Because a lot of people, when they're looking at strength and they're in a deficit anyway, especially if they're a beginner, their strength is going to go exponentially, but they're going to still lose weight. So the focus really shouldn't be put on certain aspects when it isn't the main concern. You can look at certain stuff other than what you actually want to do. I know. But it's really difficult to just say, oh, I need to do this. I'm going to do this, so I'm not going to listen to anyone else. Because I have had people where it's because they have something that works, they're not going to take anyone else's advice. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But it's like, it's the whole Ronnie Coleman and Arnie debate where because they did it one way must be the only way that works. And it's like, well, no, applications of science within training itself over time has got a lot better, and the understanding of how you can progressively build muscle has also improved over time. So if they had to implement what they did back then to now, would they be doing it differently? Potentially, yes. And you can't look into the application of someone else on how they did it, especially when they're applying a lot more time and money into what they want to achieve, when they are going for stage and you have someone that's just trying to get fit for the beach. So it's an important factor just to look at it and just say, this is what I want to achieve to a smaller level, but they want to achieve it like this, and they're going for a lot higher level, so I might not need to implement as high of a factor in terms of actually physically applying this much to it, because I can't eat that much if I'm trying to build that much muscle, or I haven't got the time to cook that much, or I haven't got the financial positioning to be able to say I can do this. Make sense? Yeah, I think this has been on for 10 minutes. I always badger on. Yeah, but all these recordings will go on Facebook or YouTube. I'm probably going to be YouTube today, and then steal some of the clips. But it's an important factor just to realise everything needs to be measured, and everything needs to be measured to you. And you can't just consider it because someone else did it one way, especially when they're in a better financial position or have more time on their hands. Because if you had a footballer that was getting paid so much per week and being able to train that much a week, when you're also working a full-time job as well, you can't put the same practical application down to what they can achieve and what you can achieve. It's not viable. I'm going to leave it there.